Hey there guys, this is Robin Hood, and today I'm going to be showing you guys another 1 vs 1 replay here in Total War Rome 2. This is a battle that I fought very recently, and it's going to be quite an interesting one. I'm going to be playing as Sparta. My opponent, Jesus Juice, is Carthage. So, since I'm playing as Sparta, it makes things a little bit tricky. Sparta right now is one of the weaker factions in the game, because although, thinking of Sparta, you'd never guess it. They have some of the weaker infantry in the game right now, and it's simply because they lack any kind of sword units. They're completely based around hoplites. They've got some pikemen, but very weak pikemen, and their skirmishing is fairly weak as well. These skirmisher units are nowhere near as good as the other factions, what they can field, and same thing with cavalry, because Sparta's based around infantry. So they've only got citizen cavalry, and citizen cavalry are not bad, but they are no comparison to some of the units, once again, other factions can field. So I wanted to play as Sparta and see if there was a way I could effectively use them. Now, by no means am I saying it's impossible to win with them. You can win with any of these factions, but facing certain armies it can be a little bit tougher. Now, these guys here, without having any sword units, I don't really have any good attacking power. My men will hold one heck of a long time, especially units like these Heroes of Sparta and Royal Spartans, which, by the way, look at those guys. I think those are some of the coolest looking units in the game right there. But anyways, for my army, I brought 5 Helot Slingers, 3 Periorkoi Peltists, and then 5 Spartan Hoplites, and then I have 2 Royal Spartans and 2 Heroes of Sparta. I've also got 2 Citizen Cavalry for my cavalry force. Now, my reasoning behind this army was I am going to try to skirmish as much as I can and whittle down my opponent as much as is possible. You can see the overhead here. It's a relatively flat. This was a quick battle. It just selected this random flat snowy map here. But I'm going to try to whittle down my opponent's skirmishing as much as possible. Now, depending on how much skirmishing they bring, this can be a challenge, because once again, these Helot Slingers and stuff are not as good as what some of the other factions can field if they have, like, mercenary Rhodian Slingers and things like that. My opponent for the skirmish has 2 mercenary Cretan archers, and 2 mercenary Balearic Slingers. And he's also got a Carthaginian Scorpion, which we'll see how effective those guys here are this battle. But once again, my strategy is just try to skirmish as much as possible. My cavalry, what I was hoping to do with them is once I get into an engagement, is not really send these guys out. I'm not going to be aggressive with Cav. I'm not going to go seeking a cavalry fight. I want to get around and get behind the enemy units for hammer and anvil strikes, because once again, my units have great holding power, not a lot of cutting power cutting through units, so the morale penalties are going to be necessary. And you can see I'm stacking up my left flank. Almost got confused there for a second with Periorkoi Peltists. And I'm not really worried about enemy cavalry because I've got all my elite units in the back. I'm going to send them forward where they're needed, but all of these guys have a bonus versus large of 20. Cavalry, as long as I micro well and block it, really is the one thing this army does not have to worry about, because it is completely spears. So I'm going to try to skirmish with that, but we'll go ahead and take a look at my opponent's army. And this is one thing that made it so I can't really use my cavalry the way I wanted to, and that's the fun thing about this game. Strategies always have to change, but my opponent brought a lot more cavalry than I was expecting. I was thinking he'd maybe bring 2 or 3 and some elephants and stuff. I was thinking of him bringing elephants, but that did not happen. So he has 2 Carthaginian cavalry, a mercenary Iberian cavalry, these guys here, and those are a lighter cavalry unit, and a noble cavalry, and these guys here will absolutely wreck my cavalry in a straight out fight, especially if they get the charge. Then I already showed you his skirmishing, 2 mercenary Cretan archers and 2 mercenary Balearic slingers. All those guys are better than what I have. You can see these slingers here have 26 damage on them. My guys only fielding 16, and I believe his guys have a little bit more armor too. Yeah, so that's one of the other weak points of Sparta. These are really some of the best guys I can bring if I really want to skirmish at range. Now up front he's got 5 of these African pikemen, and these are a good pike unit, and this is also kind of interesting for my army. In a sense, this is a good thing, because it's not a lot of sword units. He has 3 of the Libyan infantry. Sword units are really the danger. My hoplites can take on a pikeman unit as long as I don't engage them directly in the front. But one thing I notice immediately is that my opponent has all of his skirmishing behind his lines. Now, there are times that that is a viable tactic, but right now it's going to help me. I'm just going to completely ignore them. All of my guys are heavily armored, and my problem is going to be dealing with his infantry, not the skirmishers. So what I'm going to do, you can see here, I've got all of my slingers targeting this one unit of African pikemen here. And now that these guys' armor hit points are starting to go down, they're going to start dropping pretty quickly. And I'm going to try to make holes in this guy's pike line, because where there's holes, I can get on the flanks of the pikes, and whoops, my screen just kind of derped out there. Where there's holes, I can get on the flanks of the pike units, and that's where I can do damage. From the front, these guys are going to be impregnable. From the sides, you know, my men will be able to cut through them. So you can see, although it's taking some time, this unit here is starting to go down, and my guys do have a lot of ammunition. Once again, the reason it's taking a little longer is just because those slingers not quite as good as some of the like these mercenary Balearic slingers, for example. But there's one unit down, one gap in his line. I'm immediately switching to the next unit. Now over here I'm moving up with my peltists to fire some javelins in on the flanks of these guys, and these peltists are very high damage. They're going to do a lot to these pikes quickly. And you can see this here is just some more screening with my spear units. I've moved out some of my men a little bit to guard against cavalry like this. Like I said, I'm not really worried about cavalry as long as I'm keeping an eye on it. Now, these Scorpions have been firing the whole time, and you'll notice I've adopted a very stretched out line. There's really no reason for this other than these Scorpions, look at that, they will kill several men in a row. So my logic was simply, if I have less men in a row, they'll do less damage. And you can see they're shooting at the flanks of these units, and they're doing damage, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. I just have to take that fire. Once again, this guy here is just trying to get to my slingers, but I've got everyone just too close to spears for it to be effective. His archers here did do some major damage to one of my peltist units, but I've returned the favor on those pike units. You can see his guys are firing back some now. This unit of Spartan hoplites starting to take a little bit of fire. And my slingers coming forward once again to start firing at this African pikeman. So like I said, this is the game that I wanted to play. One of skirmishing. Had my opponent been more aggressive, what I would have been doing was falling back and skirmishing a little bit, throwing 1 or 2 units of pikes, not pikes, hoplites, just to hold troops down, get on the flanks with skirmishers where they do more damage, all of that kind of stuff. But since my opponent has this pike box, he doesn't, well, not pike box, pike line, he does not really want to move forward. He wants me to come straight in and engage these guys head on. And right now my skirmishing is making that impossible. Now right here I am going to catch some of his mercenary Iberian cavalry. These guys are the light cav unit, so they're very fast, but they're also not armored at all. They're going to go down very quickly here to my hoplite units, and you see all of my slingers got away unscathed. And over here there's a quick cavalry engagement. I had to charge in my cavalry to deter his. I really did not do much damage because his cavalry is better than mine, but he was forced to withdraw because of my general unit here, the Heroes of Sparta, moving into that fight. And over here you can see my other flank of these Periorkoi, can't say that, Periorkoi Peltists. And these guys are going to move in, and we'll watch one of the volleys again coming in on this unit. Look at that. That guy just took a javelin in the shoulder and just kind of shrugged it off. But anyways, now that my opponent's moving forward some of his slingers, I'm actually going to start firing on them. I've destroyed one pike unit. This other one is severely damaged, and they're going to go ahead and rout here in a second. And so I'm going to switch and start taking out some of his skirmishing now that it is being a factor. And for some reason my screen keeps just doing that. I'm not even like hitting any keys. Kinda strange. So up above you can see I'm kind of arcing around his left flank. He's got these cavalry behind me. He's trying to find gaps to destroy my skirmishers there. But since he's not pushing with infantry, I literally have my entire army to block this cavalry. You can see once again I'm going to go forward here, and this unit of Balearic Slingers is just going to melt, especially when these javelin men start joining in the fire. And here that comes, and those guys just getting absolutely wrecked by javelins there. That poor soul, look at that. That's a little bit painful, buddy. Oh, he's trying to get up with a javelin through his head. Sir, you are one tough nut, except you're gonna die now. So once again over here, just blocking his cavalry with my cavalry. This is not what I wanted to use my cavalry for. I wanted to avoid cavalry engagements, but since he's got so much of it behind me, this is my most mobile force to block them, and I'm just keeping close support of my hoplite units there. Now right here my opponent is beginning to move his Libyan infantry off towards my left, so this is where he's going to try to move around onto my flank and start dealing some damage with those sword units. And here you can see I've wrecked yet another African pikeman unit. So now he's lost 3 of them, he's only got 2 left. At this point I've got so many more infantry that I'm not worried about these pikes. I will be able to wrap around them and hit them on areas other than the front, where they will do great amounts of damage to me. You can see I've pulled back this flank now, and these Peltists, it doesn't show me how much ammo they have left. I had a little bit left. I'm going to start firing at some of these Libyan infantry and trying to hurt them. Honestly, just due to my numbers, I wasn't as worried about these guys, even though they are probably the best units he has to fight me, as I was those pikes. As long as he had those pikes, he could sit there and I would have to attack him sooner or later. But you can see some of these guys going down to the pikes. That guy once again just taking one through the leg. Ow. That's gonna suck. Over here, once again I'm catching his cavalry. That Carthaginian cavalry is now wrapped up with a Royal Spartan unit, and that is not a fight that he's going to want to be in, although he's not going to withdraw his cavalry from it. So yeah, you can see those guys getting taken down decently quickly here by these Royal Spartans. Now over here on this flank, my cavalry has wrapped up his cavalry once again. My Heroes of Sparta are moving in here and getting some kills. They're starting to move through this cavalry, but I believe he's going to try to withdraw again. There goes another horse unit. The problem though is he is getting around this flank more than I wanted. This Libyan infantry is kind of a threat, and right here I've got a Heroes of Sparta along with a Spartan hoplite fighting this Libyan infantry, and these two guys together will be able to win that. Now right here I had almost engaged this pike unit on the front. I moved them out around to the side, and I think he was microing elsewhere because he did not realize that I'd worked around these pikes, and so from over here they're just going to be getting torn apart by my hoplite units. And you can see these guys fighting it out here. But up on the overhead you can see I've withdrawn this side of my force. All of my guys are running back over here. One, I'm trying to bring in more forces towards this fight here where my general unit, which is a bad unit to have in this situation, is surrounded. They are a Heroes of Sparta, though they've got incredible morale, and once again they do have ridiculous holding power. And my opponent sees the reinforcements coming in and he's going to break off because I beat this Libyan infantry there, and I've got those guys coming back in as well. Over here these Royal Spartans are finishing off another Carthaginian cavalry unit. They're also fighting a Libyan infantry, and these guys will be able to hold in this fight for a long time. The threat here is these African pikemen are going to start moving over this way. Now my slingers are out of ammo. I'm going to try to get them through this gap here. Over here, once again, these slingers and stuff out of ammo. They're moving with one Royal Spartan unit to clean up this mess. Back here, moving on the flank again of this pikemen unit. And these guys, they're just not standing a chance. And over here, I'm starting to surround his cavalry and his Libyan infantry. And you guys can see, here comes my Spartan hoplites into the back of this. So these guys are starting to become quickly surrounded. Over here, I managed to get these Helot slingers into the back of these Libyan infantry, and these Royal Spartans, you know, with those swordsmen charging them, this unit will actually win that. They'll hold out against it. They've got ridiculous melee defense, 67 compared to these guys, 28. And now these pikes are coming in, and I'm gonna scatter my men. These slingers are gonna go around this way, and the Royal Spartans off this way as these pikes move in. And that's the thing, they're just too slow in pike formation to actually catch these men. Back off this way. I'm just going to ignore these Carthaginian scorpions rather than waste time going after them, and you can see they're just going to rout anyways. I killed off his general over here. You can see it's a complete ring of Spartans around these units here in the center, and they are just getting massacred. So that's the end of that battle. And aside from the fact that I didn't get to use my cavalry quite how I wanted to, you can see they really did not do much of anything there. My slingers for the most part had good numbers across the board. This unit doing a little bit less, but you know, they took out the pike units. They did what was needed. Of course, my elite Spartan units, both of these Royal Spartans doing incredible there. Those guys are really excellent units. But it ended up working pretty well. And so I lost about half my force, killed 1,238, and of course my opponent there not doing enough damage to take down my army. I fielded a larger force too. And that is the nice thing about this army. It is definitely a big force. It's a lot of people to kill, and once again they've got the holding power. So it's just, you know, if you can hold them in certain spots long enough, hopefully you can maneuver to win. But you can see these 3 units of African pikemen just died, no kills, and that's what really hurt him. His skirmishers did a lot of damage because they were killing my skirmishers, and I was just ignoring them because these were the units that I felt would make the bigger difference, and they did. So that's that. Good game to my opponent, Jesus Juice. Thank you for not quitting the battle. You're the first person in like 10 or 12 battles that has not quit and has given me good replay there. So you're awesome, dude. Need more people who don't quit the battles. If you're gonna lose, just be honorable and take the loss. It's annoying. Yeah, it's annoying to lose, but it's even more annoying when you're about to win and your opponent just quits. So, once again, great game. If you guys want to try out that army, give it a go. If you have any improvements you think to it, that was just something I threw together to attempt to play as Sparta there. One thing some people would probably say is put in some pikemen. Definitely something to consider there. But thank you guys for watching. This has been Robin Hood, and I will see you all next time with more.